Hey everyone, Bond here from Dr. Pennsylvania. Today you're going to be hearing our 50th episode, which is kind of exciting. Before we get into it, I just want to remind everyone, if you like what you hear, please rate us and give us a review on iTunes. That really helps out. And if you want to keep up on what we're doing, follow us on Facebook at Dr. Pennsylvania, or you can always drop us an email at drpennsylvania@gmail.com.
Okay, so this is actually our 50th episode, and you might be thinking, well, there are way more than 50. I mean, this is Dr. Pennsylvania. I only really upload things on YouTube myself, and Bond takes care of all the, an RSS feed?
The RSS feed, Libsyn, and all the other
iTunes and all that jazz.
Spotify, yeah.
I have no idea what we look like on any of those other formats, so I don't know. But bottom line is we have way more than 50 videos, so here's the deal. We do our past periodical series, which is where I read old newspapers and stumble and stutter through bad reprintings and microfiche, and we have the 1.5 or 4 minute mile marker where it's just a very short episode. Then it became 5 minute mile marker because if I write one page, it typically ends up being more closer to 5 minutes. So those are our two episode types that are not what we have taken to calling our long form episodes, of which this will be our 50th. How long have we been doing this now? It's been 2 years?
About 2 years, yeah. I think we started October of 16.
I know it was in autumn because autumn is the time when, for writing comes most easily to me in autumn and winter. And really, I feel most like myself in autumn. So,
in general,
having said that, we were racking our brains about what to do, and we kind of hit upon Groundhog Day. Partly because I heard something about Bill Murray in the news today.
Oh, really?
I did. I was only half awake enough to know what it was about. It had something to do with a camera and a bar. Who knows? And it might not have even been the Bill Murray who appears in the movie Groundhog's Day, which, of course, is about Groundhog's Day in Punxsutawney, although large parts of it were filmed in Butler, Pennsylvania, which is actually the county we are in, which... Butler to Punxsutawney is about an hour.
Yeah, I'd say. Yeah. About an hour west.
So I kind of wanted to talk about Groundhog's Day for this 50th episode, and I think this whole 50th episode celebration is more for us than anybody else because other than stating that this is our 50th long-form episode, there's really nothing
different.
No. I did have a Coke, which is a little different. It's
also a little Coke.
It is a very tiny one. I thought these were the regular cans, but they are not. That we can edit that right out because that is a terrible thing for anybody to hear.
Makes you feel like a giant.
I don't normally drink soda though, so that is a little something special. I'm gonna treat myself on this 50th, even though I finished it moments before we hit.
No, yeah, but it was one of those things like we did think about like, oh well, do we want to do like anything crazy long form and like again, it's like why broken?
Why do that?
Broken, you know?
So, with that said, we both got some personal stories about Groundhog's Day. Again, living about an hour away, we've attended Groundhog's Day considerably less frequently than you may suspect. That being said, Groundhog's Day, Bon, where does that come from? Because it is like when you stop and just like think about it for a moment. It is about the goofiest thing ever.
Well, it's funny you said it because, like, I feel like since a lot of us and anyone else listening in, Western and even Central Pennsylvania, we've kind of grown up like, oh yeah, Groundhog's Day,
right?
It's just
nothing weird about that.
Exactly, nothing strange there, But like again, every February 2nd, it seems like everywhere else in the country is like, hey, look at these folks, So I mean, with Groundhog's Day. Like, it all started whenever I was doing some preliminary research into Groundhog's Day, my suspicions were confirmed that it comes from a holiday called Candlemas. Candle with M-A-S at the end.
So Candlemas.
Candlemas.
German,
yeah. It's German, yeah. Which is a celebration. It's 6 weeks after the longest day of the year. So,
okay. It's the winter solstice.
Winter solstice, yeah. So basically, what Groundhog's Day is it's a celebration where do those guys have names? They have to have names.
Who has names?
The guys with the hats.
Oh, well, yeah, they're all part of like some fraternal order that takes care of.
Well, yeah, I think they're literally just called the Groundhog Club or something like that.
Maybe it's something like that. And I've had some sordid run-ins with these gentlemen. I'll talk about that later, and I'm just joking. They were very nice.
I'm curious to hear that.
But so you were kind of telling me this whole Candlemas thing. They were looking for an animal. They weren't pulling an animal out.
No, originally what would happen is in various places in Western Europe, whenever you first saw a bear in the spring,
that meant spring was arriving.
The spring was coming soon, or like a fox, or I saw in England it was a hedgehog. Didn't know they had hedgehogs in England.
You didn't? I knew that because they're like common pets.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I don't think they're like as common as cats and dogs, but in England,
but
I know a lot of people.
But like they're indigenous.
Yeah, they sure are.
I did not.
Do you know like hamsters are from Russia?
I thought I'm thinking guinea pigs. That's from Peru.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not know. It's one of those things. I have a hard time imagining a hedgehog in the wild.
I can understand that.
It's like a hermit crab kind of, where it's like I don't know, but Anywho,
let's not get down that road.
Exactly, that's a long path. But as far as we know, it looks like it started in the 1880s. There's various documentation as far as like when the first one was and where it was actually celebrated.
Okay. How did it come to Punxsutawney? How did it come to be there?
Those were the Pennsylvania Dutch.
Right.
And
we should, just for clarification's sake, the whole Pennsylvania Dutch thing is a little bit of a misnomer. It should be Pennsylvania Deutsch, but it's kind of just been bastardized into Pennsylvania Dutch. They are not from.
They're not from.
They're not. What are the Dutch? Are they Danish?
Dutch.
We're probably
like Netherlands.
It's all Scandinavian.
Yeah.
Anyhow, Pennsylvania Deutsch. So the German immigrants coming over to Pennsylvania en masse kind of bring us.
Yeah, so they're doing this Candlemas thing, and then in the 1880s it finally became like a little celebration kind of thing where they picked a groundhog, I guess.
They are plentiful.
Yeah, they're plentiful, and when I was looking through this, it used to be because it was partially a game animal.
Yeah.
So that's when I first started kind of coming out of their holes, and you were able to shoot them.
Well, and it makes sense too because, as you said, in Europe they were looking at bears and other animals like that. It seems like the one thing that binds them to bears is the fact that they also hibernate.
Exactly.
And so when you start seeing them coming out, that must mean spring is right around the corner.
Yeah, and how that interfaces with Candlemas is there was just an old like folk saying. The folk saying is actually, if Candlemas is fair and clear, there'll be 2 winters this year, which is a fun little saying you can tell all your friends.
So it kind of goes into like with the Punxsutawney Phil thing. If he sees his shadow, well, he's going to see his shadow if the day is clear, cloudless, the sun's coming down. And if he sees his shadow, it's 6 more weeks.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, so if he sees a shadow, 6 more weeks of winter. If he doesn't see a shadow and it's cloudy, just like in Candlemas, then spring is around the corner.
Okay, well that makes sense. So, you know what? And I have actually my grandparents live about 15 miles away. I want to say from Punxsutawney.
Oh, really?
They're in Reynoldsville.
Oh yeah.
Also in Jefferson County, and so I had gone to Punxsutawney a lot when I was younger. It's not a bad town. It's I remember when I was younger driving there with my grandparents and seeing all these murals. I think it's on like a wall that they have for the creek that runs through there, which name I can't remember. But I never actually attended the Groundhog's Day until I was an adult. And basically what had happened was I was in college at the time. It was February 1st, 2006. And the reason I can remember part of this is it was the Steelers were getting ready to go to a Super Bowl pretty soon. And that evening, probably around 8:30 and 9 at night, my friend Tom gets a hold of me. He's like, do you want to go to Groundhog's Day? And I said, well, sure, but I guess we got to leave now. So I think I stole one of my parents' cars. And I picked up Tom, who had 2 other guys, Bill and Vinny, I think the other guy's was. Anyhow, there's 4 of us. It's already almost 10 at night. We're driving into Punxsutawney. We get into Punxsutawney around 10:30 or 11 at night, and we found a parking spot. There were all these shuttles going to Gobbler's Knob already, and we ended up, one of us had an ID for Sons of, or a membership thing for Sons of Italy, so we ended up all sneaking into the Sons of Italy club. I think Bill was the one that had the pass, and and we just kind of backhanded it to each one of us, and we all got in. We were hanging out there. They had a cigarette girl going around, back in the day. They had the ladies with, she was carrying around shots. And I imagine a lot of the history of Groundhog Day is just people looking for an excuse to get drunk in like the worst time of year.
Yeah.
Anyhow, when Sons of Italy shuts down, probably like around 2 or 3 in the morning, we all go back to her house. She's got some friends there. We're all hanging out there, being really goofy. Everybody's been drinking a bit. Bottom line is, we're hanging out with some local people, and we're talking about like different venues we had played in Punxsutawney. And at one point, Tom excuses himself and comes out wearing nothing but a towel and shampoo all through his hair. And he says something like, "What do you mean you don't have any like conditioner? Like, what am I supposed to do about this?" So this is weird, especially since the young lady's mother comes in, but thankfully she's weird too. We're all laughing. Tom's trying to purchase this family photo of theirs they had hanging above their like fireplace. We're all involved in this. By this time, it's like 5 in the morning. We ended up walking back into town because she lived right outside of the main drag of town. We end up walking back into town, and it's almost time for the Groundhog, Punxsy Phil, which, by the way, locals get upset if you continually refer to it as the Beaver through the course of a night.
They get real salty.
That's what I found out. Anyhow, it's like 20 minutes before they lift this thing, so we're kind of hurrying to get there, but then we see a pancake breakfast that's about to open up, and we decide, well, there are no lines right now. Let's just go in. And they had the reveal on the radio. And so that was the only time I've been in, and I didn't even see the Beaver until actually just last summer. I was out with my family, and we were out that area, and I said, well, look, we're here. I'll take you to the library. You can see where it lives during the year, because that's where they...
that's
Punxsutawney Phil lives at the library in the children's section. I said, there's a window. You can go, and we can see him there. We go there, and a couple of the guys from that whole fraternity, they have him out for some reason. There's some tourists from out of the country.
Cool.
They're there getting their photos taken with it. And it's honestly like 3 guys from the group. This family from out of country, and then we just happen to walk on the scene
at like the right time, kind of thing.
And so I got my photo taken with it. My daughter got her photo. Like, the whole family got photos taken with the Beaver, and we got to pet it and everything. And I just remember the one guy going like, "Oh, don't pet it this way. He's a real bastard if you do that. Like, they'll bite at you. Don't do that." And I got to wear the top hat and everything. And this was in June at some point, I want to say, of last summer. So even though I missed Punxsy Phil when I was there on the night of revelry, I did get to see him making up for that fact, like
that's pretty cool.
10 years later.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. Like I said,
it's almost certainly not the same. Groundhog. One last thing. I hate calling them groundhogs. I prefer woodchuck. Woodchuck.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, like, for little fun fact, not fun fact, but whenever I was little, like, I always called them woodchucks.
Yeah.
That's what my dad called them, and I thought groundhogs and woodchucks different things.
I can understand that, and I prefer woodchuck because it comes from the American Indian word wucha.
Really?
Wucha. I believe it's a Lenape word, but I'm not totally sure, and I'm sure the Lenape language is a dialect of other tribal languages that were in this region. But wucha is from what the word woodchuck is derived. So I prefer to go with that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, it's cool. Yeah, and that's funny. I have no idea how long those things naturally live for, let alone in captivity. But
Right.
there's been a lot. There's obviously the same Punxsutawney Phil they're pulling out in 1887 is obviously not the same one. It's there now.
Probably not, unless it was Punxsutawney, unless it was a tortoise.
Yeah, which is what's possible. Yeah, but yeah. So it's an interesting tradition that like has some like real folk roots and everything. But obviously, ever since the film in 1993 with Bill Murray.
Yes.
I know, like I said, I've only been to the celebration once. It was early on in college. I remember far less of it than you did. So I remember having a good time. I remember people being very nice.
You remember people telling you what a good time you
had.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that element of it. But I wonder what the difference was like in the number, because there was a lot of people when I was there. It was It's cold every year, and everything. But there had to have been over 10,000 people there. Like in the town for that event.
I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people live in Punxsutawney, but my guess would probably be about 3,000 people normally.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. I wonder how big the celebrations were before that film came out. That's like what I'd be curious.
Well, you know what? I'm sure because I remember watching it on the news beforehand, but I'm sure that did nothing but popularize.
Yeah, like
but
around the country.
The other thing I'll say though is would a film like that came out in 1993 and you didn't attend it until at least 10 years later, would that have sustained an increased popularity?
Yeah. But there's a lot of people there. But
I'm looking up real quick just how many people live, because I said right around 3,000 people.
I think it's probably about right. I think
it certainly was right at one point. Oh, you know what? It's according to the 2016 estimated census. It is just shy of 6,000 people.
Really?
So I tend to overplay things. So
I wouldn't have thought that. But
no.
But also I haven't.
But when it started around 1880, there was 600. There was just shy of 700 people living in Punxsutawney within the next 10 years. That population shot up over 300%. So I imagine the significant influx of people.
Yeah, exactly. No, but it was it's a really fun event. And that's the thing is, I think because of the natural absurdity of it, I think that's kind of what
how can you not have fun?
Yeah, exactly. It's like one of those things. Like if you have someone who says like, "Oh, that's a stupid tradition," it's like, no shit. Like, of course it is.
What's the thing that Doug Stanhope I always enjoyed? Like, traditions are just dead people's baggage. But here's the thing: it's a demonstrably silly thing. I don't think anybody ever. If you go back to the folk tradition of it, the very earliest years, and it makes sense. You see a bear. Oh, the hibernating animals are coming out.
Exactly.
Spring is here.
Yeah.
When you add this twist, I don't think anybody ever, any serious-minded person ever, believed this. Yeah. This woodchuck is prognosticating the weather.
Exactly.
I think it's just a deliberately silly thing, so we can all let our guard down a little bit, so we can
have
just
a little bit of fun. Yeah.
Not take ourselves so seriously.
Exactly. And like you said, it's an excuse to get drunk on a cold winter night, kind of thing.
You know what? Let me tell you something about people in central Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I don't think they need to look very hard for an excuse. I don't think they're trying real hard for an excuse.
That's probably true. That's probably true. But again, it's a good time. I've over the years, I think that's one of the things you end up having to explain a lot to people who aren't from around here. Groundhog Day comes up and people are like, what the heck is up with this? And it's like,
I don't think we can take ourselves to explaining it when, as we've both admitted, we've only actually been to the festival once.
Exactly. But I don't think there's anything. Can you think of another folk tradition from anywhere else in the country that is this absurd and this famous?
Well, I'll tell you what. We could probably think of a couple, but that are this famous, I would say probably your Christmas tree in New York.
Okay.
Or the pardoning of the turkey by a president.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
Because when you stop and think about it, this is goofy.
This is
really silly.
A weird thing to do. Yeah.
Right. And so
they
exist, but off the top of my head, I'm hard pressed to think of one. And as soon as we hit the stop button on this
probably
recording,
think of one,
it'll come to me.
Yeah.
But I think of like, of course, think of the national holidays and what come in. But But yeah, for something that is so regional and for what is really a very small, like this is not Philadelphia with like the Mummers Parade, which is a bit silly.
Which is a whole.
This is not Pittsburgh. This is a small town in Jefferson County, Pennsylvania. I think not a very big place on the map.
Like there are people who live in Butler County that have probably never been to Jefferson County.
I could believe that.
Yeah, I guarantee you there are people.
I could believe that to be true.
Yeah.
I better make sure Punxsutawney's in Jefferson County. I'm almost certain it is, but it's very close if not. Yeah, it is in Jefferson County.
Let's say because it's definitely not in Clearfield. Can't be in Clarion.
I'm glad I'm so knowledgeable enough that I can speak off the cuff what counties, towns are in. But anyway, so that's our big 50th.
Woo!
I might celebrate. I am going to be. I might drink another tiny Coca-Cola. Might do that, or I might get really patriotic here and get something from the Trona Bottling Company.
There you go.
One of them fine pure cane sodas from. And because everything tastes best in a glass.
It does. Fact.
It goes this order. I know this since I was a young child. Everything tastes best out of glass. Failing at that, cardboard carton. Then a can, and a plastic bottle is your last resort.
I remember my father once saying they ruined cardboard containers with glass.
Really?
Yeah, they taste so much better.
You know what? I did not know that.
Yeah.
What did they seal it with? Turpentine?
It was probably something they shouldn't have been sealing stuff with. Oh my god.
Well, you know, it's funny. It is like this side thing, real quick. I love Yingling, and I once had Yingling in a can, and I was like, I cannot do this. This is a different animal here.
Especially beers. There are certain beers that like bottles or like if someone ever showed me a Newcastle can, I wouldn't believe it.
No. Yeah. Where would they put the factoid?
Exactly, yeah.
Blue star. Anyway, so there we go. 50 long-form episodes. It's a weird anniversary to keep. It's an arbitrary number.
Just like Groundhog's Day.
Just like Groundhog's Day.